Okay, I'm back. I'm down to my final two pieces, and like I said, I'm going to show you what my fingers have become. They become like that. Now, I did use a little of both hands for one piece that was giving me trouble, but this one doesn't have as much as that. So it's always good to use one hand and not both hands. And I'm just going to finish this up. Now, I did run out of egg, and being that I only have two pieces left, I'm only going to use the fourth egg. And like I said, I've made this so many times that I kind of know when I do it how many eggs I'm going to need. And it's usually 4. Sometimes you might even need a 5th egg depending on how big piece your breaded meat is. But I think we can get away with 2 because this is a really small piece. And don't be alarmed if your meat does not come out the same size or doesn't pound out the same way as others. You may get really weird shapes, but that's okay. Those make really good sandwiches. And for smaller people like children, or if you don't normally eat a big meal or don't like to eat a big meal, the smaller ones are actually kind of good to eat, and that way you can eat something else like a salad with it or mashed potatoes. Okay, and my last piece is fairly big, but what we're going to do is we're just going to flour this one and we will be done. Now, after you're done with the flour and the breadcrumbs and the eggs, go ahead and throw anything that may be left over away, because you're not going to want to reuse your flour for anything because it had raw meat in it, and it's not good to have the raw meat. You should not have much egg at all left, and same goes for the breadcrumbs. You can't save the breadcrumbs that have been used in the meat. Just go ahead and throw all of that in the trash can. Do the last one. And like I said, you can use a fork if you're a little bit turned off by touching meat with bread. You can use a fork. The reason I don't is I find it much easier to do it by the hand, with my hands versus the fork. So, now that we're all done, I'm going to show you what we have. And there we go. That is all the breaded meat. You're going to want to let this rest. Oh, let me show you more of it. That's all 8 pieces of breaded meat that I'm going to fry up. You're going to want to let that rest for a half an hour before you fry. So at this point, go ahead and wash your hands and get rid of your flour and your breadcrumbs. And I'm going to do that really quick. And it's always nice to have these scrub daddies in the kitchen, because it helps to get not only stains off of certain things, but it also helps to get your hands nice and clean, especially if you have longer nails. Some of the flour and stuff will get under your nails, and you want to get all of that out. And now that my hands are nice and clean, I'm going to go ahead and throw out all of the flour. In the meantime, I'm just looking at my nails. I got a little bit of stuff under my nails, but you can get that out relatively easy. Oh, I've got a little bit of stuff on that one, and that one. Okay. Put your breaded meat in the microwave just to sit for half an hour. Now it's 3:43 here. That means at 4:15 they'll be ready to fry. Now what I'm doing is I'm just cleaning up my mess. side. Now, my counter did make quite a mess. So what we're going to do is we're just going to wipe down the counter. At this point, after you've gotten everything wiped down, now you want to start getting your oil ready for the frying part. In my case, usually I have my husband as the helper, who I'm actually going to, in a few minutes, tell him that I need help, and he'll come up and assist me with this. Okay, my counter is all clean. Now I'm going to get the fryer ready. Like I said, when you're pouring your oil, pour it into a cold pan. Don't have anything heated up yet, because you want the oil to slowly come up to the temperature you want. You're going to want 2 to 3 inches of oil. So if you're doing it on the stovetop, fill a fairly wide, because you're going to want a pot that's wide enough or big enough to accommodate your pork tenderloin. And some of you may have noticed that my pork tenderloin is long, and that is a piece. So you're going to want a pot that can accommodate that entire thing flat. Meaning you don't want it to be curled, because if it's curled, that's how it's going to cook. So let's get our oil going. I'm going to stop the video for a second and do that. Okay, and I'm back. I have filled my fryer, and that's about as much oil as I'm going to use for this. Like I said, you can save the oil after you've done a cook. Just make sure you give it a very good skim to get all of the meat bits that might have fallen off of your breaded meat when you do this. You're going to only want to use the oil for meat. You're not going to want to use it for anything other than meat. So what you're going to do is you're going to allow your oil to heat up, and you want your oil temperature to be about 375 degrees to 350. So 350, so I go, this is in Celsius, so I do about like that. And always put your lid on when you're first starting to get your oil hot. You always want to put a lid on it. Now, this does not hold true if you're doing it on the stovetop. If you're doing it on the stovetop, don't cover the pot, because it needs to come up to an even temperature, and you don't want the oil on your stovetop, especially if your stove is gas. Well, the same goes for electric, but more gas because oil can catch on fire. So if you are doing it on the stovetop and you have a thermometer that will tell you the temperature of your oil, turn your stove on, allow your heat to come up. If you're using Crisco, it needs to melt, so it's going to take longer than if you're using a liquid vegetable oil. And you want to do that about the same time that your breaded meat is doing its 30-minute rest, because oil will take about 20 to 25 minutes to come up to its temperature of where you need it to be. In the meantime, let's get ready for our second bit. And I'm going to have to ask my husband to move for a second. Get out a cookie sheet, and you're going to want to line your cookie sheet with aluminum foil. And you're doing this because when you bring out the breaded meat, you're going to want to salt it. And I'm going to show you step by step of what I mean. But this will also keep your pan nice and clean. Also, at the same time that you're doing all of this, turn your oven on. And you're going to want to put your oven on 280 degrees. You might be like, well, that's awfully low. Yes, it is low. But we're not trying to bake the breaded meat. What we're doing is we're just, if a piece of breaded meat, let's say, didn't fry long enough, it'll finish cooking in the oven. And I just read my grandmother's recipe. It's actually 200 degrees. So you can go down. I normally do 250 because that will kill any extra bacteria and stuff. So while we wait for the oil in the oven to heat up, we've got our cookie sheet lined. You're also going to want to have your salt shaker handy. And salt shakers are very good to have in the kitchen. These are big. They fit quite a bit, but you're going to want to salt your breaded meat as it comes out of the deep fryer. The reason we haven't done any seasoning to the breaded meat is you really don't need to. You're going to get good flavor with the oil, but you're also going to get pretty good flavor once it's fried and you add salt to it. So I'm going to stop the video, and in about 15 to 20 minutes, I'll come back and show you how to fry up our breaded meat. Okay, I'm back. My oil's heating, and it's actually starting to get hot, and I think... Oh, no, it's not starting to get hot. My light actually goes off, so it still has a ways to go. While your breaded meat is resting, if you're making mashed potatoes to serve with this, now is the time you're going to want to start to get those going, or at least have them ready so that you can turn on the flame. The breaded meat does not fry all that long. It fries for about maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And you might think, well, that's not long enough to cook the breaded meat. Actually, you'd be surprised because you've thinned it out so much. It actually will cook really quickly, and you're going to put it in the oven for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, and it's going to fully cook. By the time your mashed potatoes are ready, your breaded meat will be ready to eat. So my husband is actually getting the potatoes all ready to go. My oven is at 250, and my oil is heating. So I'm going to show you what the next step to this is in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back, and I thought I would just spend a minute talking about oil and frying. When you're frying oil, or you're about to do a frying, and always make sure that you stay in the kitchen, or you have somebody that is in the kitchen in case something catches on fire. With oil, you can very easily get a grease fire. This is more true if you're using oil on the stovetop versus a deep fryer. Deep fryers are designed for them to automatically shut off when they get to the temperature and hold it so that they don't continuously heat. And you'll notice, like I said, I have my lid on. That's helping my oil get to its desired temperature. Anytime working with oil, you always want to make sure you're far enough back so that if you get splatter, it's not going to injure you, because the worst thing is having an oil burn. And they hurt, believe me. So that was just kind of a quick tip. My husband's getting the potatoes ready. He's going to make a salad, and I'm going to go fry some breaded meat. So stay tuned.